All right, so my name is Rakia Reynolds. I am the founder and executive officer of Sky Blue Media. Sky Blue Media is a multimedia strategic communications agency. I started the agency a little over 11 years ago as a result of a series of unfortunate, or what I would like to call a series of unfortunate events. I had taken this nonlinear path of working in higher education, studying psychology, consumer behavior, being recruited to work in the world of television, to be an associate producer, being laid off from being an associate producer, and then going back into television. But at the end of the day, my job was always to remain true to the world of storytelling, whether that was telling the story of a fictional character or telling the story of a non-fictional character. And so what I loved about being able to start my own agency is that I always had the opportunity to write the rules. And I think it is essential in the world of public relations, marketing, mass communications, and media to be able to tell a good story. So the thing that made me start my own agency was, honestly, I wanted to be able to control my own destiny. You know, being moved around from television show to television show really caused me to think about, what do I want to do? How do I want to create value? How do I want to make an impact on the world or the landscape in which I was working in at that time? And at that time, it was communications, but in a different form. So I thought I could start a communications agency and take all of the things that I learned in television, producing for magazines, working in the world of higher education, and studying psychology, understanding consumer behavior, and build a company that encompassed all of those amazing things. And I did that 11 years ago. So Sky Blue Media, as a company, we sort of branded ourselves very early on as a non-traditional communications agency. So Sky Blue Media separates our work into 3 verticals, and that's people, products, and places. On the people side, we get to work with C-suite executives and celebrities on their digital online reputation management, their legacy building, their lexicon, and what their footprint will be after they've done that thing that they've done. In the product space, we work with financial institutions, corporations, venture studios, venture capitalists, funds, technology companies, fintech companies, the world of Web3, and beyond. And then in the place space, that's my last place, pre-pandemic, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Pre-pandemic, we did this thing called place branding, where we would actually work with cities to tell their stories. So if you're a city and you have all of this credit card data, mortgage data, and you have college education data, and you have all of these things, but you needed to sort of put it together to say, how do we tell an effective story? How do we tell that story on our websites? How do we tell that story on social media? How do we tell that story to traditional press? And we would work with cities to help better tell their stories. You know, I know that 2020, the year, changed everyone, but the way that it impacted me personally, I mean, I would say, I think everyone had these learning and unlearning moments. As a Black woman, as a mother, as a wife, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you know, inequity has always been at the, you know, sort of center of my universe. You know, there's no way of getting around it, or ever for me, you know, sort of getting away from it. But what the pandemic forced me to do was to teach a little differently, to teach my children differently, to adapt and be really agile to things, to have more grace on myself at times where I thought, hey, you know, why am I going through this? But everyone was sort of going through the same thing. And for me, you know, it was a period of where the challenges provoked so much power within me to become a better leader and to really know that I don't know what I don't know. And I started bringing in experts. One of the things that we did, you know, at the onset of the pandemic was I started realizing how some of my team members were reacting on calls and, you know, just adapting to this virtual vertical. And I hired a therapist to work with our team, you know, sort of, we just paid the bill, and we said, you sign up for the time slots and you can go and meet with her and you can talk about the things. And as a leader at that time, I couldn't really process my own feelings, and I wanted someone to work with me to help my team to process their feelings. So it caused me to bring in a certain level of experts and a brain trust that I hadn't done before. So I adapted fairly quickly to that. And I would say after the murder of George Floyd, what happened was racism was just broadcasted on a larger stage. As a Black person, I've seen racism since I was a child. It was just broadcasted differently. So while the world was impacted, we just got to be a different kind of spectator in that moment. And watching the world come out to learn and say statements, for me, there were moments of vulnerability. There were moments that caused me to teach my children as a mother to have uncomfortable conversations. So when you are a teacher at work and a teacher at home and you're teaching all of the time, you bring in different tools so that you can be replenished. I mean, most of us, you cannot work if you do not unplug. So I was able to figure out moments for myself in terms of pace and unplugging, but we're still going through it. It changed and it shifted, and I feel like we're still learning, unlearning, and we're still shifting.